everyone. So for those of you who don't know, Task Scheduler can be a very powerful and useful tool for you. So what we're going to do is go over what Task Scheduler is, and we're going to go over the interface, and then we're going to set up a couple of simple tasks for you. So what is Task Scheduler? It's an automated tool that allows you to create and run almost any automated task on your Windows computer. For example, you set parameters and or times, and when those conditions are met, then the selected task will run. It can be found by searching it in the Start menu by simply searching Task Scheduler, or you can go into the Control Panel, System and Security, and then Administrative Tools and find it there. So let's go ahead and open up Task Scheduler. So I'm going to open Task Scheduler through the Start menu just simply by searching it. So up here on the left, you have File, which you have Options, which I believe is just to delete. Yep, just delete files. For disk cleanup, you have Actions, where you can create tasks. And this here, Action, looks just like the Action pane section on the right here. You have View, where you can adjust your panes and everything you see on your interface. And then you have Help. Okay, so above the console tree here, you have your forward and backwards and your up a level, and then you can hide your console tree or bring it out. You have more help and your action pane that you can hide. Under your console pane here, you have a tree that allows you to see other things that are on the computer. You can go digging and diving for specific tasks. In the middle, you have all of your tasks that either Windows has created or certain software such as antivirus software has already created. Down here, we'll go over all these tabs in just a moment, but this is your information about your selected task. And when you have a selected task, on the right-hand side, you get a selected item section over here that allows you to run and disable, so on and so forth. If you click on Properties, if it is a task that you have created and you select Properties, then you can edit the properties in the task that you created. So further up in the Action pane, like I said, it looks just like the Action tab. You can create a basic task, create a task, import tasks, and so on and so forth. Those are the important ones. So we're going to click on Create a Basic Task. We're not creating anything yet. I just want you to see the interface. So this is what you can come to expect. You have a basic task, a trigger, action, and finish. Okay? And then if you do create a task, your interface changes in this new window with the tabs on top, and you can actually manually select these tabs. You don't have to go by the next button like you do on the Create a Basic Task. The difference here is that creating a task gives you more control over that task. It can also be a little bit more dangerous if you start entering the wrong things for your task. Whereas Create a Basic Task, it simply walks you through the basics and allows you to get just the bare minimum done. So now it is time for me to show you how to create a basic task. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this Morning YouTube, and then you're going to open My Page or channel. You can do this with any website. My example is going to have you open my YouTube channel. So now we're going to go next. We want this done daily so that way you can see what I've done. And so we're going to go ahead and click Next. This trigger here automatically, because daily needs more information, it automatically takes you into this, and we're going to just go ahead and start tomorrow morning, and we're going to start it at 8 a.m. and then we're going to have it reoccur every day. Okay? Now under Actions, you have Start a Program or a couple of deprecated items. Now you can't really use those deprecated items, so your only option is really to start a program, which is fine for us. Now this is what we're looking at, the program script. We're going to browse all the programs on the computer. Now this automatically opened to Internet Explorer for myself. You can browse. I actually use, depending on what platform I'm using, Mac I use Safari, on Windows I use the new Chromium-based Edge, but Internet Explorer is easy to find for the example, so we're just going to use the iExplorer.exe. We're going to open, And we've got that right here. Now we need to add in arguments. So for these arguments, what you need to do is go ahead and go to your web browser, find the page that you want, copy the link, and then simply paste the link inside of here under arguments. Now we're not going to worry about start in on this, especially since it's optional. Now we're going to go to next to finish. This is a summary page. So the name is Morning YouTube, description is to open my channel. You do it every day at 8 a.m. automatically. And then under action, it's start a program, whatever web browser you decide, and then whatever link that you want. So open properties dialog for this task when you finish or click finish, that isn't necessary. But if you want, you can click on it, and when you click finish, it'll go ahead and open this here, which looks just like the create a task page. So if you wanted to go through and do some more editing, you very well could. But it's unnecessary. You can just click OK. So now when you find it in here under Morning YouTube, it tells you the name, the status, the triggers, the next runtime, and the last runtime, which is clearly not correct because this is 2020 when I created that. So it did not run 21 years ago. So this tells you pretty much everything you need. Now, make sure you have your selected task that you want, and you can run this right now. Okay, so now you can see that it worked, and you're on my page. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Now we're going to exit out of that. So on this, you can also in the task disable, export it if you want to put it on another computer, or just save it in save the export somewhere as a backup type of thing. And then you can view the properties, which just brings this page up, but I'm going to delete it because I don't need that right now. So we're just going to delete that. So now we are going to create a task that is not a basic task, and it's going to use this more complicated looking interface. What we're going to call this is weekly restart or reboot. I already have one called weekly reboot, so I'm going to do weekly restart on this one. Description is, now security options, you can select run only when users logged in, run whether users logged in or not, store password or not, highest privileges, hidden, configure for whatever you want. I'm going to configure for Windows 10 because that's what I'm using. So now we're going to go into triggers, and we need to decide when we're going to do this. We are going to begin the task on a schedule. We're going to do it weekly. We're going to basically just leave the start date to now. We're going to do 1 a.m. every Sunday, okay? And it recurs every 1 week. Now in your advanced settings, you can choose to delay and repeat, stop tasks, or even set an expiration date. And this enabled says whether this task is working or not. If you uncheck this enabled box, that means that the task will not work until you either enable it or manually run it through the action pane. So we're going to leave that enabled, and I'm not going to change any advanced settings for this. Actions, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new action. We're going to do start a program. Now we need the reboot script. Okay, so here's the reboot script. I'm going to try to remember to put this in the description of the video so that way you can copy and paste it. But for Windows 10, this is all you need for your computer to shut down. But we actually need to add in arguments because what we want is a reboot, not a shutdown. So here are the arguments for rebooting. -R space -F space -T space 10. So what does this argument mean? Well, the -R is for reboot. The -F is for forcing, so you're forcing the reboot no matter what is going on the computer. If a user's logged in or not, a backup's running or not, or whatever may be going on, you are forcing the reboot. The -T means time. So that 10 means 10 seconds. So what's going to happen is when you force that reboot, you have a 10-second countdown. So that means that whatever time that you set your reboot at, it's going to reboot 10 seconds after that. Now click OK, start a program, it's going to be shut down, reboot, force, time, 10-second countdown. And you can add in other actions here. Now conditions, you can force this to happen if the computer's idle or stop it. For those of you that are using laptops, if you are on battery powered rather than being plugged into a charger, certain tasks you might want to pay attention to the power or network conditions. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled for something like that. And then we're going over to settings. This is allow the task to be run on demand, run task as soon as possible after a scheduled start is missed. If the task fails, restart every blank. So it's got a lot of extra settings in here that allows you to control a little bit more of what happens in case something interrupts the trigger and action or condition. So depending on what you're doing, you might need this page. For a reboot, we can basically leave this as it is. Now that we've clicked OK, we can see that we have our weekly restart, and it can be found here. Like I said, I have a weekly reboot going on, but this weekly restart, the general triggers, actions, conditions, settings, and history are all here. You can view history of the task, any information about it. We don't need that right now. So that's only really if you need to troubleshoot or if you need to see if your task is actually working. So like I said, I've got a weekly reboot already, so I'm going to delete this one because I don't need it. One thing I do suggest, if you are doing a reboot, now this computer here I use basically as a home server. If you haven't watched those videos on how I set this up, there's a full playlist. Be sure to check it out. I'll try to remember to put the link to the playlist in the description down below. But anyways, be sure to check it out. But if you are using this as a server, or if you're using a computer that somebody else is also using, then I would suggest setting a reboot at a time that is optimal to where it's not going to interrupt anyone. So basically I have backups running on this computer, and so I have scheduled my reboot after those backups are completed or should be completed, but before anybody else uses the computer. So just know that whatever you do for your reboot, just make sure that you have it set up correctly to where you're not going to interrupt anything important. So that's how you set up a few tasks in Task Scheduler. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below. Be sure to like my Facebook page, Tech and Things with Justin, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. As always, thank you for watching.